Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Sean David, and welcome back to BTM, to the Basketball Time Machine, your favorite old school NBA show. Before I'm going to introduce today's guest, just a little reminder, if you want to hear more podcasts like this one, just make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notifications button so you always get notified once we upload a new podcast. Today's guest played in the NBA from 1990 until 1999, Willie Burton. Willie, what's going on? Are you still involved with basketball?
Yeah, I'm involved in basketball, but in the sense of working with younger students. At one point, I was working with the NBA and team awareness with the players, but I get more satisfaction. And at the same time, I had to start being a father to my own kids. So I pulled back to scholastic athletics for youth.
All right, sounds good. What exactly are you doing there?
Well, right now I'm over high school athletics for the Detroit Public Schools, which is the largest school district in the state of Michigan.
All right. And do you teach your kids basketball too?
Well, my kids do everything but basketball. So football, swimming, big kid at Michigan State in track and field. Matter of fact, he just finished the NCAA regionals. They do everything but basketball. Every other sport, swimming. So.
Okay, so you didn't force basketball onto them?
No, I never forced any sports onto my kids, and neither did my parents. So.
All right, sounds good. And you're totally fine that they don't play basketball at all?
I'm totally fine with it.
Good parenting, very good. So, are you still watching current NBA basketball?
Yeah, I watch it from time to time. The game is different. The game is more, it's more sped up. It's not as physical, which is good, which actually enables players to play for longer periods of time and cuts down on injuries.
So you rather would play in today's game than back in the 90s?
Yeah, it would be easier for me to play in today's game because I was more or less like these guys. I was more or less speed and athleticism than muscle and brawn.
All right.
Which was back at the time I was playing.
All right. So you were born in 1968 in Detroit, Michigan. How was it? How was it growing up in Detroit back in the days?
Well, it was pretty nice. It was pretty challenging growing up here with the competitiveness we had here. We had a great deal. As a matter of fact, when I played in the NBA, we had more players in the NBA from Detroit than anywhere else.
Yes.
So I think it was total of maybe about 20 of us at the time. Enough to fill at least two NBA teams.
Wow. All right. So who's the best Detroit player back in the days?
Well, Michael Jordan, of course, was the best. I mean, he was a head and shoulders above everyone else, including the NBA All-Stars.
The best player from Detroit? Michael Jordan?
Oh, the best. Oh, no. Best player from Detroit. Oh, the greatest player from Detroit would probably Spencer Haywood.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, Spencer Haywood. He's also the guy that allowed go straight from high school to the pros. So he was the first player to do that in the NBA.
Yeah, one of the most underrated players of all time to me, actually.
No, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So when you say underrated, they don't make the Hall of Fame. He made the Hall of Fame, so they know who he is.
You think that every player that makes it to the Hall of Fame is not underrated? Oh, I can give you 5 players where I feel that they're underrated, even though they're in the Hall of Fame.
Who is that?
Well, to me, John Stockton is underrated, to be honest. In a conversation, when people talk about the best point guards to ever play the game, Magic Johnson always is the first, which is totally fine with me. But then there are so many other names like Isaiah Thomas and even people saying Steve Nash and so on. And to me, it's unbelievable that John Stockton is not clearly at least the second best point guard to ever play the game.
Well, I argue with you there because, you have guards everywhere. You got Pistol Pete Maravich. What about him?
Underrated. Totally.
Well, no, he's not underrated. You're talking about hierarchy. There's a lot of names that will go in before John Stockton. Don't get me wrong. Great player. However, let's look at the players that are over him. That these names that you would bring up that people may have forgotten about. Pistol Pete Maravich is the greatest scoring point guard, period.
Definitely.
I don't care when you talk about Magic Johnson, anyone. He's the greatest scoring point guard. Nothing could stop him from scoring.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
So
and if you hear
that's
nowadays
why
people talk about who's the best point guard, he also doesn't get mentioned.
Well, point guards, I don't know. Everyone knows who. It's time, I guess. The time from, individuals not understanding who he is and what he's done. Sometimes you have to bring that forward because people forget. And older people, pass on. So the younger generation aren't fully aware of him.
Interesting. All right. When you were growing up, who taught you the game of basketball?
Well, actually, I followed my uncles. My uncles played basketball, and I used to go with them to the gym. And I followed behind those guys and sit on the side as a little kid dribbling the basketball. And then I got into elementary basketball. We learned our sports here in Michigan, specifically basketball, at a very young age. And you're molded from coach to coach through different teams. So I've had Mr. Florence was influence of mine early on, Jerry. Those were my foundational coaches in elementary school. And then it went on to middle school, Dr. Harvey and Mr. Woods, high school, Ed Rachel, Jake and the Roadrunners with Jake Boyd, Maceo my sophomore year, Mr. Ziegler my freshman year. So you go through a process of coaching before you can reach the ranks, and you have to get through those processes to get to the next rank. So
who would you say was the most influential coach of your pre-NBA career?
My high school coaches, Alonzo Littlejohn, Ed Rachel, and my coaching staff at University of Minnesota, Clem Haskins, Milton Barnes, Silas McKinney, and Mr. Brown, Al Brown, who got the toughness in us. He ran us to a point to where we passed out. So he got our conditioning to a point where we didn't get tired by the end of the game.
Who was your basketball inspiration back in the days? Any favorite player from the NBA that inspired you?
Terry Cummings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Terry Cummings.
How come?
Because he was just a dominant player. He had an all-around game. Very physical. I didn't have the body. I didn't develop the body that he had, but I just liked the way he played. And that was pretty interesting.
Nice. I had him on a show I think 3 months ago. I think if it wasn't for his injuries, I think we would be talking about one of the best players of that era. He was so talented. Yeah. He had that. He had the heart problem. Exactly, and he still made it back to the NBA. Yeah, that he did. Yeah. So you also had a very successful college career, playing for the University of Minnesota. What is your fondest memory back of your college career? I think making the NCAA. One is winning our first game my freshman year, and second is making it to the NCAA tournament. If you could go back in time, would you still play for the University of Minnesota, or would you have picked a different one in hindsight? No. I went exactly where I was supposed to go. The community, the culture, the people, the fans, the university itself. I went exactly where I needed to go. I made the best decision. If I could do it over again, I'd make the same decision. Nice. So what's the toughest guy you had to play against in college? There was quite a few in the Big Ten at that time. There were a lot of NBA players coming out of the Big Ten. Yeah, so I can go up and down the list. Glen Rice, Nick Anderson, Jay Edwards. Yes. You can go to Danny Jones at Wisconsin. You go over to Iowa, you had Roy Marble and B.J. Armstrong. Let's see. What other schools are there? Michigan State, Steve Smith. Kind of funny that you ended up with playing with some of these guys later on. Yeah, Ohio State, you had Dennis Hobson and Jim Jackson. Yes. Yeah, so, you could go on and on and on. So from Indiana to Michigan State, all the schools had NBA players.
So it was a tough time in the NBA as far as competitiveness.
Loaded.
Yeah.
You were drafted with the 9th pick in 1990 by the Miami Heat. What was going through your mind when you knew that you were going to Florida?
I'm going from the refrigerator to the oven.
From one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it took me a while to adjust to that heat.
But but were you happy that it was going into that direction, or could that have been something else, and you would have been fine with that too?
Yeah, I would have been fine. I would have been fine wherever I went. Because I can adjust my game to a coach's philosophy. I had two great coaches, as I said, in high school, and I had great coaching in college. That I wasn't allowed to just go and just shoot the ball everywhere. I had to play within a system. And I learned to be efficient within a system.
What were your expectations on the day of the draft?
My expectation was at least I was going to get an opportunity to relax for a couple of days and enjoy the draft. And that didn't happen. It was pressure and stress from that day on. I think I left at 6 o'clock in the morning for a flight to Florida. It was like the next day we were gone, So.
So no relaxing whatsoever.
No, relaxing. That was over with. I didn't relax until I retired from playing basketball again.
The Miami Heat were still a pretty new franchise at that time. Your team basically consists of 5 rookies, which is incredible. And the oldest player on your roster was only 28 years old, which is also crazy. What was it like playing on such a super young team?
It was a struggle at first, but we learned to grow together. We had so much talent on one team. Sometimes it's hard, but you figure it out. I didn't have necessarily a problem because I could figure it out. As I said before, I could play with the scheme and figure out how to be productive in almost any system.
Did you do you remember your first NBA game?
Yeah. My first NBA game. Matter of fact, LeBron James broke that record when he first got with the Heat. Yeah, I set a record with that team with about the most points scored by a Heat player in the first game.
Oh no! And LeBron broke it. Oh.
Yeah, but LeBron did that in his 7th year. That was my first NBA game.
So you still should hold the record for Miami's, the rookie with the highest points in the first game as a Miami Heat.
Well, as a rookie, yeah.
Well, pretty impressive.
And also, I think right now, I'm the only rookie in NBA history to shoot technical foul shots in his first game also.
Okay.
I got a few things that I've done. So my records have been broken now by a few people that's pretty good. James Harden. James Harden just broke one of my records because I also had the record for the most points scored against the Miami Heat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, James Harden just broke that record in January. Allen Iverson broke a lot of my records in Philadelphia. So, it's okay. Records are meant to be broken.
Well, at least you can say that some of the greatest players of all time broke your records.
Yeah, and they stood for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Pretty good. Yeah, not bad at all. Any player that you were super excited to play against in the rookie season? Any guy where you were like you couldn't sleep the night before, or you were like super tense?
No, all of them. Everybody. You go team to team. You watch guys. You watch guys play, and you can go team to team. It's from Michael Jordan to James Worthy to Magic Johnson. You're talking about Kevin Johnson in Phoenix. You're talking, I can go team to team and name someone. So it was like that probably the first half of my first year before I woke up and realized, hey, it's time time to put a little effort in yourself and not, not be starstruck. It just happens. I mean, you're a kid. Come on, you're a kid. You see these guys, it's like, wow, I'm actually out here. You know?
Do you remember your first game playing against Terry Cummings?
Yeah, I do.
Did you tell him?
Did I tell him?
Did you tell him that he was your idol?
Not then. You didn't do that then. You waited. You know, you wait for a couple of years, and then you tell him. You sit down and tell him after you've established yourself. Because then it has more meaning. You know.
Okay, makes sense. The other shooting guard on your team was a guy called Glen Rice. One of the best shooters in the 1990s. Was there anything you could learn from him?
Yeah, I learned how to shoot. I learned the method of shooting. I became a better shooter watching him, playing with him. But Glenn and I played in the Michigan high school teams together also. So we played together prior to that. We played together in high school, and then we played together in the NBA. So that was kind of cool. But the way he shot the ball, he really shot the ball a certain way. He had a lot of leverage and a lot of lift on his just shot, a lot of power. You know, and he shot it so easy.
Yeah. So at the end of your rookie season, you averaged 12 points and 3.4 rebounds. So a pretty good rookie season. Mm-hmm. How satisfied were you with your rookie season?
I was very satisfied. I mean, with the NBA, if you have your double figures in the NBA, you're doing something. Yes. I mean, anyone, you know. And then it just so happened over a career, I averaged double figures. That's saying that I was there. You know, I was there and I made somewhat of an impact. You know.
So in your second season, you guys are actually starting to make some noise with your super young team. You had a new head coach in Kevin Lowry. Did anything change for you personally in that season?
Well, yeah, personally, I went through ups and downs with deaths and my family members and other things that came along with that. And we were playing so much basketball. And then I realized, man, I've never played this much basketball in my life. Night in and night out. I mean, literally night in and night out. So it's pretty tough.
Okay, but I mean, I just can imagine in your second season, you guys actually won quite many games in comparison to the first season where you suddenly, I mean, you've been on a successful college program before. You're getting used to winning games. Then suddenly you're playing the NBA. You lose many games. You got to get used to that. And the following season, suddenly you start winning more games again. So that has to be kind of a relief, doesn't it?
It's a big time relief. We got Steve Smith in there, and that really helped propel us from. We picked the pace of our game up, and he was a bigger threat at the point guard position, which required other guys to help and lead. It was. I think we had more fun with him at the point guard because when he pulled the ball off the backboard, he was gone. I mean, he's ready to run the break. You got to get out on the wing.
Yeah, you already mentioned that your team was really talented. I mean, let me give you some names. You had Steve Smith, as you already mentioned, Glen Rice, Ronnie Cycli, Bimbo Coles, Grant Long, Sherman Douglas, Kevin Edwards, Brian Shaw, and of course yourself. So that was a really, really young and talented team. Actually, it sounds like a yearly playoff contender if you would have kept it together for the next couple of years. Yeah.
Well, we went to the playoff the next 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, we should have been in the Eastern Conference Finals, but we had Atlanta, and I don't think we realized that we actually could beat them. We were up. We beat Atlanta in Atlanta, beat them twice in Miami, and we were up. In some kind of way, we gave them a game, and next thing you know, we were home. Yeah.
So how was it playing the playoffs for the first time in the NBA playoffs? Is it different in comparison to college?
Yes, it's much more different. It's faster, it's more physical, fewer fouls are called, and you're totally exhausted at the NBA playoff games. I mean, totally exhausted, like laying on the floor, can't move, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you guys actually also played against the Chicago Bulls in their heyday. What was it like playing against MJ and Scottie and Horace Grant in their prime in the playoffs?
It was pretty cool playing against them.
You remember who you were guarding in those in these playoff series against the Bulls?
I was guarding Scottie Pippen most of the time.
So the easiest job you can have.
Yeah, Scottie was he's a very good player, hard to guard. But at the same time, those guys were some of my best friends. I could score.
Yeah. So talking about all those great guys that you played with and that you played against, you still rather would play in this era after, just talking about all the legends that crossed your path?
Well, selfishly, because I would even have a bigger advantage in this era.
Okay.
I would have a bigger advantage in this era than I did in that era. I would. It would be easier to score. It would be easier to score. I mean, for me, for what I see with the new rules, you can't touch, things of that nature. Yeah, it would be much easier for me to score.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So your team was getting better, but for you personally, you had to battle through some serious injuries, and you almost missed 80 games for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
How tough was that? Yeah, how tough was that mentally for you to going into the season thinking, okay, hey, I had a good second season, I want to build on that, and suddenly you're completely out. How tough is that mentally?
Well, that was pretty tough. You talk about my shooting hand. I mean, I snapped a ligament tendon and cartilage in my shooting hand, and I'm a scorer. So you take scoring away from me. Now, my biggest advantage of why I was brought to the NBA is now. So now we're trying to figure out, am I going to use this hand again? So I was the first player to have this surgery to return to play. I think I'm in the medical journal to return to play, and then I set an NBA record with it, with a hand that was literally put together with muscle from my forearm. So,
incredible.
Yeah. I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed. Oh yeah, you're blessed. There's a combination of things that has to happen for you to be successful in athletics. It's not just about talent. It's because the injuries are going to come. Things will happen. But how you bounce back from those is going to determine your career at the end of the day.
Yeah. Talking about bouncing back, so the 3rd of November in 1994, the Heat waived you and you signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, and suddenly you have the best season of your entire career. Did you play with a chip on your shoulder that season?
No, I was just able to shoot the ball. See, before I played on a team with a lot of guys that could score. Then I got on a team with not as many guys that could score, and I was, tapped on the shoulder to shoot more. So, okay.
I can do that. All right. The 13th of December in 1994. You remember what that day was?
The 3rd of December, 1994?
Yeah.
That was the day I hit the 53 points, I think, right?
Yeah, 50 points with only 19 shots.
Yeah.
I think that record is still valid.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I set an NBA record that day, too, and with 3-pointers. The most 3-pointers in the game.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 25 years, and that record is still valid in a time like with nowadays NBA where people are scoring like crazy because there's hardly any defense, and your record is still valid. That's to make you feel good.
Yeah, it makes me feel good.
Good.
It makes me feel good. But like I said, records are meant to be broken. To have a record in the NBA at all is great. To have records with an S that stood more than 20 years. It's just, I'm very appreciative, but it's these guys' turn now, and to be honest with you, I wish that every record that I've had that they break, because that's what you're there for. You come there, you set a bar, you set something to someone in your sights to see if you can achieve that. And that's what it's about.
Okay, any specific player you would wish for to break your record? Any player you like?
Well, I like them all. I wouldn't say that. I let the chips fall where they may. You know, it may be someone no one's paying attention to. You know, that doesn't get as much publicity. So,
all right, only time will tell.
Yeah.
So, in the 1995 season, you were in the CBA after your great season with the Philadelphia 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that?
Well, number one, it was contract negotiation. I had one overseas. I went overseas to play.
Yes.
I didn't like it, so I returned to the back over to the NBA. So sometimes there's ups and downs with contracts and negotiations, and sometimes you don't make the right decisions. Sometimes you don't make the best decision. You're young, headstrong. Sometimes you have to just get things together and learn from decisions that we make. The ultimate goal, as I said, is to grow along the process.
So how tough was it for you to fight your way back to the NBA?
It was. I just had to wait until that next year, and show them what I can do. It's all about showing what you can do, just like any other job, you know. Because contracts are set, salary caps are made, and you can't get around them. So you may want to go back to the NBA. They may even want to bring you back to the NBA, but because things are so locked down, they can't bring you back at that point.
For the next 3 seasons, you played for the Atlanta Hawks, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Charlotte Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, where do you have the most fun? What team, what season?
I had the most fun. I had a lot of fun in San Antonio. I had a lot of fun in Atlanta, but I was still growing and reached my maturity yet. But then I had a career-ending injury also. That my leg, I just couldn't run again. I had at least 2-3 more seasons left in me, but it just wasn't right. It just wasn't right. So that's where the chips fall. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed my experience. I'm very appreciative for my experience and all the things that have happened, helped me grow as a person, as a human being, and as a father. And I have no regrets.
So you don't wish that you could have ended your career on your terms?
No, because had I ended my career on my terms, would I become the father that I became to my children? Maybe not. So it's about selfishness, self-centeredness. And at that point, that it was time to be a father. And that's what I focused on doing. And that's what I am today.
Some wise words, my friend. So you're looking back on your NBA career, I'm just curious, was there any superstar that you really, really loved guarding? Like a superstar where you felt, hey, I don't know for whatever reason, but when I guard this guy, I'm just on top of my game?
No, you can't say that, because you talk about guarding superstars, you got to be on your P's and Q's. It's stressful. You know, they got so many tools. You take one away, they go to the other one, you know, and it's like, whew, okay. So the only thing that I could try to do is match them in scoring. You know, I could pretty much match anyone that I played against in the NBA in scoring, except Michael Jordan. You know, he's the only guy I couldn't match. You know,
you mentioned earlier, so he's the greatest player of all time to you?
I think if you look at the greatest player of all time, it's bigger than just looking at Michael Jordan. I think the greatest player of all time, the most dominant player of all time, is Will Chamberlain. The greatest player of all time has 11 rings, Bill Russell. That's just the way I see it. No disrespect to Michael. No disrespect to him in his game. He's a great player. But the most dominant player is the one who has the most rings when it's all said and done. And he has almost twice as many as Michael Jordan. You know?
All right. So if we would have a time machine and you could go back in time, and I know you probably don't like this question, but still I want to ask, if you could have decided on what team you could have played on, what would have been your first choice? Doesn't matter the era, doesn't matter the year, doesn't matter the team, anything that you would love to would have done.
I would have liked to at least played in Detroit one year, where I'm from. I would have liked to at least play.
Bad Boys era?
Yeah. Bad Boys era or after. I would have liked to at least play in Detroit for 1 year.
You would have had. I think you would have had a blast on the Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Because nobody liked messing with that team, so you you would have been not safe, but you could have concentrated on scoring because the other guys would take care on the rest.
Yep. I appreciate the fact of coming on your show, giving, fans and students and kids a look at the NBA from a historical perspective. And I appreciate the fans for supporting us, and I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Well, you got to see it from this angle. You were living my dream, and you were living the dream of many kids back in the days, and you accomplished something that, not even 1% of the basketball players in the entire world, maybe 0.00000.1 players accomplished. So you should be proud of that, and I think there's nothing wrong of in thinking about that and being proud of that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I just use it. I use it to help kids now and help others who are pursuing that dream. I had my opportunity. One of the things I don't like to see is older players criticize new players. Their time is over. You try to work with them and try to help them as best you can. But one of the issues I have sometimes is old superstars can't get over that their time is over, and they want to criticize the younger players. And I don't think that's right.
Okay, so you don't see any flaws in today's game? Or anything that deteriorated over the years?
Yes, but the rules have been changed. There's nothing we can do about that. The rules were changed by the NBA. So we have to move forward. And just like when Will Chamberlain was playing, they changed it from, they started making a 3-second call. So changes to the rules, changes to the game have always been there. And it's to some players' advantage, and to some players it's a disadvantage. It's just the way it is. But to have the opportunity to be there and be productive, that's just a gift. You don't use that to tear down others.
Well, I don't want to lie. To me, it's pretty hard to not complain about today's game. Since I've been a hardcore fan back in the 1990s and just loved the NBA back in the days. Literally, there was nothing else in my life apart from this game, which is kind of sad, but that's just the way it was. And if you see that the thing that you love so much just crumbles in front of your eyes, and all the things that you loved so much just get worse from year to year, it's hard to sit there and watch, and it's hard not to complain.
Yeah, but let's look at some of the positive stuff. See, that's one thing, you look at that because that's from a perspective of our time. Let's look at the positives. It's enabled more European players to play. The game is picked up. It's actually more exciting. It's more fast-paced. It's more higher scoring. There's some positives to it too. It's just it has changed from the foundation in which we knew.
This is where I disagree. Yes, the game is way more fast-paced, but just take the Los Angeles Lakers, the Showtime Lakers, and compare them. They had a fast-paced game. They scored a lot of points, but they also had some guys on the team that were willing to do the dirty work. A guy like AC Green, Kurt Rambis. So you had a healthy mixture. And now it just seems like the game, they have 12 guys on the roster, 12 guys that only shoot and like to score. Nobody cares about defense. There's no physicality. And to me, it's just boring, like literally boring. I can't watch it. I watched the playoffs yesterday, Toronto against Milwaukee, and I almost fell asleep.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to understand the safety of the players have been taken into precaution. So, for instance, before there were flagrant fouls, I was knocked out of the air when we talked about the injury that I had while I stayed out for a year and a half. I lost a year and a half of my career because the fouls, because the physicality was so brutal at times till it damaged you and you could lose your career. See, that part needs to be considered because, okay, it may look good to the fan or the spectator, but if a person can't use their hand or walk right or can't really feed their family because of an injury they sustained because the rules need to be changed, you have to look at it from that point of view. See, I was that guy. I know what it's like to have to sit out, an entire season and then, learn to use my hand again. See, you don't have that now because the flagrant fouls are no longer there. So that's from a player's perspective.
Okay, very good point. Definitely. The question is, isn't there a healthy balance? Isn't there a balance that on the one side is entertaining and attractive for fans who like the physical style of play, but also is a little bit more safe in order to prevent from those serious injuries? Because right now it looks like you only look at somebody the wrong way and you get a technical foul. And that also can't be yet a solution to the problem that you just mentioned.
Well, then again, I'll go back into a game that we had against the Atlanta Hawks that year in the playoffs. Miami Heat Atlanta Hawks, I think it was 93, when someone taunted somebody and they snapped and a big brawl broke out. That's not good marketing. That's not good for products. It's not good for kids to watch.
True. Yeah. I mean, if it would have been easy, they would have come up with the best solution in a long time. So obviously, it's not easy to have the perfect balance. It's just it's so hard. I mean, I totally understand your point. It's just so hard when you know what NBA basketball used to look like and how much fun it was to watch the game as a fan. And if no matter how hard you try to still enjoy the game, it's impossible. It's just hard to digest and to accept. But I definitely get your point.
Yeah, but as we get older, the kids are coming behind us. They don't remember that. And in a matter of time, the individuals like yourself and myself who remember this game, most of the fans who go to the game won't remember that. They will only know the rules that are in place now. And it's sad because these rules have been in place I was there during the change of the rules. You used to be able to use a hand, then it was bent arm, then it was no arm. I was there for that change of those rules today, literally. No taunting, no leaving the bench. I mean, I was there for that. And the game was less volatile, It was just less volatile. It was more friendly of a game where guys play basketball. And it didn't boil over to something more.
Well, I gotta be honest. I'm happy that you gave me the other side of the story because I actually never thought about it that way from a player's perspective who actually got injured and suffered because of that. So. Yeah, I gotta agree that it's definitely a very important point. So, oh man, one more thing before we go. We already touched that topic in the beginning of the conversation. Your post NBA career. The website exceluonline.com. What exactly?
It's a curriculum. It's a curriculum for elementary, middle, and high school students to teach them the roles and responsibilities and what's expected of them as student athletes. I think that's something that's missing, and students tend to be risky. They're risk takers as athletes. We're risk takers with shots, whether we make it or miss it, and they tend to carry that off the floor at times, not realizing that their visibility as athletes. Can get them into more trouble than that of a non-student athlete. So it helps everyone stay on the same page to increase the success rates and understanding of the things that come along with the high visibility and the high notoriety of being a student athlete.
All right, you guys, you heard it. axluonline.com. That's where you find the website. Willie, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for being on the show.
And thank you for having me. It was great discussing these points with you. I'm glad you actually heard some of the things from a player perspective, why some of the rule changes are good for the players and their health as they get older, because those injuries are forever.
Yeah, it's very true, and I can't believe that I actually I'm not about to change my mind, but I'm way more open now and way more understanding, which I didn't expect before our conversation. So you did something already.
Well, thank you very much.
You take care, my friend, eh?
You too.